It's grown to everything I could have imagined it to be and more.
Well done.
Why am I crying?
Tallia Flaher, who founded a marketing agency that's leading in its niche.
Basically like a luxury hotel room, but in the heart of nature. We're up to over £300 a night there. Got offered a job in Dubai. And at that point, I'd never been to Dubai. I didn't want a new job and I didn't want to move country.
How did your pay compare to your pay at home?
It was much higher. I drafted my email resignation and left that sat in my inbox until the day I could send it. I suddenly felt like I had a 50% pay cut because I was used to then getting double.
What is your proudest moment?
The day I gave him my notice at work. When it's just you, if you don't do the work doesn't get done. Where I am right now, I would have dreamed of being a year ago. But now that I'm here, I want more. I've topped it. We've got another best month that every month or every quarter it's just going up. And that was a challenge because that was petrifying.
Welcome to the show where we talk to successful people about the bits you don't see. Today, we're talking to Tallia Flaher, who founded a marketing agency that's leading in its niche and is also my girlfriend. Tallia, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's been a long time coming since we've said that I'd come on here, so it's glad to finally actually come on the podcast.
Yeah, so we initially actually recorded an episode quite a while ago, but we both decided it maybe wasn't the right time to release it, and I think that Tal's made a load of progress over the last kind of 6-9 months. And I definitely think a really good position to be doing an episode now. So yeah, tell us a little bit about what you've got going on.
Yes, so I've got a marketing company. It's based in the UK doing marketing for glamping sites. I'm obviously based in Dubai as well, but my company and my team are all in the UK and we specialise in marketing for glamping sites. So
tell me a little bit about what that means. Like, what have you got going on? What do you do?
Yeah, so we do quite a range of things. We started out just doing social media management, so managing all their socials, getting influencers in, launching competitions and things like that. But naturally, we've now progressed into a lot more areas of marketing. So we're currently doing a lot of websites. So we're building websites from scratch, still for the glamping industry, but they kind of come to us at the point that they're ready to start thinking about opening. We get their channel managers set up, we build their website, get them ready to launch, and then we go into the social media management side of things. And for smallest glamping sites, we do consultancy. So glamping sites that have less pods or tents, whatever it is unit they choose to have, we do consultancy where we teach them how to manage their social media, how to work with influencers and how to make sure that they're reaching the right people that are going to book a stay with them.
Nice. And what is a glamping site? Like, for somebody at home that maybe doesn't know the sort of standard, the spec, they might be thinking, oh, is it some tents in a field? Like, what is a glamping site?
I think a glamping site is really hard to define now.
Your clients, talk about what your clients have got going on.
So a glamping site traditionally would have been tents in a field, as you just said there now. But the whole kind of definition of glamping has changed. So with all of our clients, they've all got luxury glamping pods, like ensuite bathrooms, hot tubs. They're basically like a luxury hotel room, but in the heart of nature. And they're continuously growing in what they offer. So it started off where hot tubs were just kind of being introduced, but now you've got like hot tubs, you've got outdoor fire pit areas that are like privatised, you've got communal areas. It's just constantly growing into something bigger that I don't think you can actually define glamping for what it is right now.
Yeah, so most of you will know that I'm in the glamping industry as well, and this is partly how Tal's got into it. And it's evolved so much of late. I have a big site at the NEC in Birmingham that is literally about to open within the next few weeks of when we're recording this episode. And I had a debate with them for about 6 months about what to actually call it because they didn't like the term glamping. They thought it sounded a bit kind of not the right level, but that's what people Google when they want to go and stay in these places, so we have kind of stuck with it. The other thing on that site, much like what Tal mentioned, is that, we're opening soon, and I was in the pods for the first time just a week or so ago, and the level of them is like comfortably better than a hotel. The neighbouring hotels, we are by far like a superior quality. I would feel, obviously it is my site, so I would say that, but in fact I'm quite self-critical. So the level is just going above and beyond even hotels now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's almost overtaking hotels, because if we just take the NEC for example, we've got over water ones that have got the balcony over the water, like lovely garden furniture, you wouldn't get that in a hotel. That it's actually now taking hotels, the quality of them, but giving you a bigger experience. So I actually think it's overtaken the hotels.
Yeah, and a lot of glamping sites are charging more, in fact, a lot more than adjacent hotels. Obviously, you won't be able to talk about many clients' numbers, but I'm happy for you to talk about my first site, NC500 Pods numbers. So, like, what is somewhere like that charging?
Depending on time of year, you know, summer we're up to over £300 a night there. It is dynamic pricing and it is very well placed, but yeah, the prices have very much increased in comparison to what a standard hotel would. But I do think they've got the quality to back it up.
And what about like occupancy? And like obviously £300 a night is a big number, but like how often are we doing that? And you know, what's the average over a year?
So dynamic pricing is a big impact to that. You know, as you just mentioned, £300 a night. You wouldn't charge that in winter, November, it's raining outside, and you know, your site, for example, one of the biggest drivers at the first site is that lovely beach. So in summer we do put that up, but NC500 Pods, that's sat at over 90% occupancy year round. Through summer, you'd be lucky to get a last minute booking. And I think what happens with a lot of clients is, depending on their location, it's actually become like a tradition that we have clients at NC500 Pods and other customers that will come every year for the week and book the whole site out.
Yeah, and do all your other clients have that as well?
Yeah, so specifically one in Norfolk, they've been there a few years now. They've got 1 out of 5 people are return guests.
Nice. Right, okay, we're going to come a bit more back to this kind of work stuff in a minute, but let's talk a bit more about you. So go back, like how have you ended up here?
Kind of by accident, to be honest. So I was 22 or 23, had a job at home in a security company. Really enjoyed it, wasn't looking for a new job, kind of was just plodding along happy. And one of my friends messaged me kind of in the group chat as a joke and said, she lived in Dubai, and said, a job's come up at my friend's place, does anyone want to reply? And I was just kind of bored at work, you know, and you think like, I'll have a look at it, applied for the job, and then got invited for an interview. So I thought, I'll go for the interview, like not really anything to lose, but also didn't really want a new job. And then got offered a job in Dubai. And at that point, I'd never been to Dubai. I didn't want a new job and I didn't want to move country. And I can remember when I got offered the job, I went outside and I rang my mum and I was like, oh my God, I've been offered the job. Like, I didn't even know if I wanted it at that point. But I just thought, what have I got to lose? I had no ties in the UK. I had no mortgage, no kinds of partner, no kids or anything that would hold you back. That I thought, sod it, I'll go. If I don't like it, I'll come home. And that was 5.5 years ago now. And then, yeah, I've been here ever since.
So talk to me about what you did when you got here, what it was like, what's the differences, in fact, we'll come on to that in a minute, between here and the UK. Just talk to me about the kind of job initially.
So initially I come out for a law firm. I was a receptionist that moved into a legal secretary role. So there was always kind of room to grow, because when I went for a receptionist role, I didn't really want to be a receptionist and I was a PA, so it was kind of a step backwards, but there was that progress plan. So I took the job and come out. I was there for about 18 months and then I moved across to another law firm where I was a legal secretary. Probably more, you know, the job description's legal secretary, but I say nowadays that's actually just more of a PA role, because back in the day you'd be producing documents, whereas now you're not. And then decided that I didn't want to be a lawyer. I never really wanted to be from the beginning, to be honest, but kind of got to a point where I was like, I don't just want to be a secretary forever, but I also don't want to become a lawyer. So I kind of got to a bit of a dead end in a law firm. And the problem is in Dubai, the money is in the law firms. If you're going to go and be a PA, you kind of need to do it in something like a law firm or the finance industry. Being a PA for kind of a small company out here, you wouldn't earn enough to afford to live the life that you want to live out here.
So you mentioned pay. How did your pay compare to your pay at home?
It was much higher.
How much higher? Like percentage-wise, you're like, you know, was it double? Well, you don't need to say numbers, but was it double? Was it triple?
So when I first moved here, the role I took was quite low paying for Dubai, and it was probably 1.5 what I was getting at home.
Was that before or after tax?
After tax.
Okay.
I was paid well at home, to be fair. For my age and the job that I was doing, I was paid very well. But when I moved across to the second law firm that I transferred to, by the time I left, I was just under double what I got from the second law firm out here. So 3 times as much as I was taking home at home.
So there is a big difference then between the UK and here.
Oh, massively. Although I don't know, because I've not worked, for a company out here now. But if you go back a few years back, you could kind of come out here, be from the UK and kind of walk into a job. It was pretty easy with a good pay. Whereas now a lot of people are moving to Dubai. From what I've heard, I don't know if the pay's not as good or whether it's the fact that the demand for jobs is now a lot more. The pay's not as high.
So it's like a supply and demand thing, where back when you moved across, it was almost like, no, it was cool, but I mean, I remember even when I moved across, it was a bit weird still. Whereas now it's like
half of the UK's
between
here.
us, like 3 of the closest people to us are moving across in the next 6 months. So yeah, I guess there is a real shift towards people just kind of moving across here and taking families and stuff like that as well. Whereas I think back when you and I moved across, it was kind of just young single people, wasn't it?
I just come into brunch at the beginning. It looked great. I didn't plan on staying here. I think everyone says, I'll do 2 years and then I'll go home. But the biggest driver when I moved across was it was just brunch and it was fun.
Well, I was only doing 1 weekend and I was going home. I was only here for holiday, for those of you who don't know, at home. And then I added on 2 weeks. At the end of the holiday, I was like, I'll just work from here for 2 weeks. And then at the end, I added on 3 months and then another 3 months. And then I kind of just never went home. And probably after a year, I was like, I think I maybe just live here now. But that is just testament to how kind of good the lifestyle is, I guess. I could never go home now from a financial perspective, but also from a lifestyle perspective. Whenever we are home, it's just quite miserable, isn't it? I'm a bit more miserable than you are.
You're much more miserable. I love going home. I didn't at one point because I think I went home so much, but we're just back from a trip home and it was probably my favourite trip. My brother's had a baby, so I met my nephew. I had time with the girls. I had time with my family. Whereas I think the last few trips I've been more miserable because we'll probably go into it in more detail, but I've been trying to manage everything on my own, that I didn't really have time to holiday when I was at home, that it was just an inconvenience and stressful trying to work 15-hour days and see people.
Yeah, it makes sense. So when I first left my job to start my business, I was getting paid I think it was £28,000 a year before tax. So I think I was taking home less than £2,000 a month. It sounds like you were probably getting paid quite a lot more than that when you started your business, which makes it seem a bit harder to leave. Talk me through that kind of period from, 6 months out from transitioning to being in your own business yourself.
Yeah, so I kind of made the decision that I wanted something different and didn't want to be in full-time employment anymore. So I actually had the idea of setting the company up while I was in full-time employment. And for about 6 months, I worked before work. I took my laptop to work and worked on my lunchtime. I worked of an evening. I worked of a weekend. I had no life at that point setting up this company. And I made sure that I got myself to a revenue with that company that matched my office salary before I gave my notice in. My salary was here. I worked my own company up to that and then quit my job. Although most people would have put all that money and pretended it didn't exist, I suddenly felt like I had a 50% pay cut because I was used to then getting double. Took the plunge. It's obviously a big risk because out here as well, it's not just your salary, it's things like your healthcare, your visa and all that you need to pay for on top. But the risk has paid off and it was scary. I questioned it a lot of the time towards the end. I thought, oh my God, have I done the right thing? But I just took the risk.
Good. And tell us a story about how it all started. I obviously know this, but how did you get into it?
So actually through NC500 Pod social media.
Which is my own first site.
Someone was doing it and I was like, oh, that looks good. I started looking at what they was doing and really enjoyed it. And Callum was like, well, you do it if you want to do it. And I was like, all right then. So I started doing it. And then the more kind of social media stuff I was doing and the more I was getting involved with it, I found out I loved it. Because I'd come from such a corporate world and being a PA, it was so you just kind of feed for other people to shine almost. Like you get all the documents ready for your partners and they go into the meetings and then you just do what they ask you to do. To have that freedom to be creative and do what I thought was good and like learn more, I loved it. So obviously I started doing your socials, and then somebody come to you, I can remember it was in Bali, and said, oh, who does your socials? Do they want to do ours? And we had the call in Bali, and I was like, yeah, all right. So then I started doing the second one. Obviously at this point I'd worked with a lot of influencers, I'd learned a lot and worked out what went well, what didn't go well. The numbers have started to increase. So I'd really kind of worked out what I was doing at that point. So then started doing it for a second glamping client, and then got more and more into it. The more I was doing it, the more I wanted to do it and found love for it. And then it kind of went from there, and then it kind of turned into more of a business. Well, I wouldn't even say a business at that point. I'd say more of a side hustle. Turned into more of a side hustle. And as that grew, it kind of, now it's grown bigger than I ever imagined. But as it grew into something more that at one point I was like, this could be my new career. Like this could be the step out kind of thing. And obviously at the time I was in the law firm, and then I just dedicated every hour out of that law firm into setting this company up. And I can remember we was in Bali, that one there in December, and in February I drafted my...
I was going to ask about this next.
I drafted my email resignation and left that sat in my inbox until the day I could send it. And every time I had a bad day at work or I was like sick of it, I looked at that resignation letter and thought, I am going to send this. And I set a target at the 1st of June, and I actually gave my resignation in on the 27th of July. So a little bit behind, but yeah, I was working towards what I wanted. I
remember when you said, I'm going to do it by the 1st of June as well, we were like, there's no way you'll be able to do that. And obviously doing it only 2 months later is really good. So do you have any regrets about leaving?
None. Absolutely none. I think my only regret was I wish I believed in myself sooner and got myself out of a job that I didn't love.
And how about like the freedom now? Because you were obviously quite restricted to going into the office and, you know, being in Dubai a lot. You know, you couldn't leave, you couldn't travel. Talk to me a bit about that.
So obviously being in 9 till 5, I had to be in the office. Well, 9 till 6, had to be in the office a lot. So I think the tough thing was because you had freedom and you would be going home, I would then be left in Dubai on my own because I didn't have enough annual leave, or it would be silly things like I couldn't work remotely, so we'd have to get a flight back 2 days apart because you'd need to stay for a meeting. It just become quite silly. And yeah, so the biggest thing I wanted was freedom as well. Like, I love travelling, I love doing things, and now I've got all the freedom I want that I actually love getting home.
I was happy when we got home most recently. Right, let's talk a bit more about work. So, like, tell me a bit more about what you do on a day-to-day basis.
So, day-to-day, we obviously do social media. So if I touch on kind of each element first of all. So with social media, it's not a case of just posting things that look pretty. We do like content strategy and plan. So what's coming up, what school holidays do we need to align with, what occupancy levels are looking like, you know, actually looking at an overview, and then we will plan and create posts that align to that. And then obviously have to manage like direct messages. We organise influencers. So there's a lot that is focused on the social media side of things. A lot of my time is spent now in meetings. So speaking to clients, helping clients with things that's nothing to do with marketing, and just kind of in the meetings. I have a catch-up call all the time, but then with consultancy sessions I have in, and then if you flip to like the kind of website kind of thing and channel manager side, we create websites from scratch. So we have a kick-off call where we'll go through like a styling sheet and work out exactly what they want their website to look like. And then we guide them through every single page. So we have regular calls with them to make sure that the website is looking how they envisage it. And like feeding back to and from with my web developer of like what bits we need changed, as well as then like outside research. So like researching with the NEC, for example, researching things that are coming up. What do we need to align with? What events are on? So it's always being that one step ahead. Like, I think what people confuse with social media is you post a couple of things and think it looks pretty, but there's actually a big plan behind it. Like with summer holidays coming up, a lot of our content is tailored to family getaways because we know at this time of year, people are thinking, the school holidays are about to start and we've got nothing but here's a reel of a family having a lovely time at a glamping site that is saying we've got availability in the school holidays.
Now, it's very, very, very niche what you do. Like, your work is probably relevant to 0.00001% of the UK population in terms of potential clients. How does that work?
So at the beginning, I didn't have the niche. Obviously, I mentioned how we started with the glamping sites. I didn't want to niche down. I was kind of like doing a bit of everything. I think because I was dipping my toes in, do you know what? It wasn't I was dipping my toes in. It was I didn't just want to be your girlfriend in the industry. I wanted to be like something that I've done myself, not, oh, she's just only done it because it's his girlfriend sort of thing. And I think being a girl at the beginning, I was thinking like, oh, it'd be nice to like do beauty salons or, you know, things like that. But the more I got involved in the glamping, the more I enjoyed it. Like, there's so much endless stuff to learn. Like, with just flipping it back to beauty salons, for example, they offer treatments and that's what you advertise. And I don't like being kind of doing the same thing. Whereas with glamping, there's always different things that even existing sites are introducing. There's always upsells that you can do. There's always things that are going on in the area that every day is different. And the biggest thing with a niche is, you know, I don't actually know the exact terms and people are probably going to laugh if I get this wrong, but is it a jack of all trades but a master of none? I was like, when I was trying to do everything, so at one point I was doing like some glamping sites, some wrapping companies, like a bit of everything. You never really specialised in one thing. And when I got stuck right into the glamping, I've now got over 400 influencers registered with me that are all glamping relevant. When you try and have a little bit of everything, you don't master anything.
I think the client demographic as well is important, because a girl that owns a beauty salon that does brows or whatever, like, she's probably capable of doing her socials herself, and so actually that target market is massive, but it kind of dwindles down, so they'll probably do it themselves, or they'll expect somebody that can kind of come along and do it quite cheaply. Whereas I think the position that you've put yourself in, like, I can't think of almost any, never mind Propelling Parrot clients, Glampitect clients, and Glampitect, obviously, you know, we've had paying clients, probably 3,000 now, different people. Whenever I spoke to any, like, they don't understand social media, so I think that probably puts you in a position to really be able to help them a lot more than probably a lot of other industries could. And obviously, social media is so relevant and important to a glamping site as well. Without good social media, they would simply fail. Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest things. Like with glamping clients, a lot of them are older than us. They've kind of got land, and it's not necessarily a retirement project, but they're like, on average, I'd say the average age is around 40 to 55. And they're typically like farmers or, you know, not marketing people or business people. They've kind of got this land and they want to do something with it. And it's nice because I get the result. So it's like you're helping them, you're explaining everything to them, you're doing what they need that they can't do, but they're getting the results they want. And I think one of the biggest things is I've learned to really break things down. So at the beginning, I'd be like, oh, this is this analytic and this is this insight and this is XYZ, whereas they don't really care what any of that means. What they want to know is how many people are viewing my post, how many people are clicking on the website, and how many bookings are coming from it.
Yeah, how many people have paid me.
Yeah. So I've learned to kind of guide them through it. And I think given that I've become so involved in NC 500 pods, although they hire me to do marketing, a lot of the stuff I end up helping with as well is like operations and how long should it take to clean a pod and what's the best way to do this and how can they do that. Like I kind of become their almost support blanket of guiding them through the operations and marketing side of things.
Yeah, it makes sense. Right, let's talk a little bit more practically. We've kind of got into this a bit, so talk to me more practically. We'll email this out to the Glampitect database, we'll email this out to the Propelling Parrot database, and so a lot of people are going to be listening that are either setting up a glamping site just now or have already done it. Tell me what they need to do to make their site the most successful possible from a marketing perspective. Maybe try and keep it broad enough that it's relevant to other business owners as well.
So stage one, understand what your target audience is. Who is it that you're trying to reach? And kind of zoom in on that a bit. There will be some that have multiple audiences, but really understand who is your target audience, who is going to come and stay with you. From there, with Glamping, this is obviously is the niche part. You then need to set up your channel manager so that you can take bookings and list on things like booking.com and Airbnb. Next up is your website. So this is obviously more generic for everybody. You need a strong website that is, I always recommend going picture based. People don't want to read essays and essays and essays about how nice it is to stay with you. They want to see the quality. They want some wording that highlights the USPs and gives them a bit of info. But a strong website that leads to a booking, call to actions throughout is kind of your next step. After that, you then need to start marketing. I always recommend doing it 3 months before starting your socials. The reason behind that is, I think where some people may go wrong is they wait until they're ready to open and then start marketing. People don't know you exist at that point, so you open your doors and no one knows you're there.
I'm doing that now.
Yeah, not out of choice, may we add. We've not using our own advice. There's a lot that's gone into why we're in that situation.
Well, it's not. It's me. It's not you. It's you would have started it a long time ago, but we've been so busy with getting it to where it is that we've not been able to focus on anything else.
So yeah, back to socials 3 months before. I always recommend at the beginning, first 2 weeks, even if it's just 2 weeks before you've done the finishing touches, a huge influencer campaign. I always recommend a couple of weeks before you open, get a huge influencer campaign going so that people start to see that exposure there. Get a big competition launched. And then when you open, obviously making sure the site's good, but also gathering reviews and things like that to build up your credibility and keeping consistent with like at least one influencer a month, and making sure that your content's right.
Nice, makes sense. And anything more to say on kind of how to manage your social media, like maybe a bit more like ongoing stuff as well? So if I've already got a site and I've got a social media that's going okay, what would I do from there?
So always kind of review what you're doing at the beginning. I think what happens is people look back at what they've done and they go, what was the point of that post? So actually maybe audit your own social media and see what have you been posting and what is the purpose of each post to make sure that you're posting with purpose. And also don't get stagnant. Always have influencer collaborations. Always have a competition here and there. Again, back to beginning of school holidays about to start. Launching a like and share competition that's going to have a domino effect just before the school holidays. All of a sudden, all these people are now seeing your glamping site or your business and it's niche with the school holidays. Perfect timing to have that growth spurt and launch another competition. So yeah, just always stay motivated with it.
So those that are listening that might need a bit of help on social media, what do they do? Like, what can you do to help them? How do they reach out? How do they find you?
Yeah, so we've actually got a lot of free guides that people can just go on the website and download. There's literally one that's about 15 pages long called How to Market Your Glamping Site. So it tells you how to work with influencers, how to plan content, how to post, what you need to be doing to market your glamping site. So head over to the website and download it. We also offer a free intro call, one-to-one session for anybody that wants to get a bit of advice or kind of run anything past us. So you can book a call with us on the website as well. And we host a lot of webinars, where some in partnership with Glamptech, some not, where the webinar will have different focuses on. But one, for example, that's coming up is a general how to market your glamping site. But in the future, we've actually got one planned on what things to include to create a good website. So we give a lot of free advice, to be honest.
Nice, that's good. Okay, any kind of last advice before we move on from that kind of bit?
The last advice that I would say is just get stuck into it, just start learning, start watching things, start looking at what other people are doing so you can get a bit of a feel for it. And don't question everything that you're doing. Like, take 1,000 pictures and pick out the top 100. Don't think, oh, that's not perfect. Take the pictures and take the content and then review it after.
Nice. Okay, you've recently started hiring people. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so it got to a point where I couldn't take on any more clients, but the company was growing, that it became a natural next step to take some people on.
Tell me a bit more.
So I had a couple at the beginning that didn't work out so great. So we'll kind of skip over those, I guess. But no, so I've taken on a social media manager who has been amazing. She's been really helpful and is doing a great job. We've also got another social media manager just about to start. We've got a marketing assistant coming on that will be helping me with more like the day-to-day things, because it's kind of got to a point for me where I'm in meetings all day that I get off a meeting, obviously there's stuff to do off the back of that. If you're going to go ahead with a website, say we need to get the agreements written up, we need to get the Dropbox folders created, we need to do admin stuff that when I'm jumping into the next meeting, I don't really have time to do. So we've got an assistant starting, we've got a web developer already. So yeah, the team's growing pretty quick. That's kind of 4, and this time 6 months ago it was just me.
Nice, well done. Okay, beyond anything that we've spoken about so far, is there anything else that you've got going on from a work perspective?
So main focus obviously is the company at the moment, involved in Avant Glamp at the NEC. I've bought a house that's rented out. I don't know if that comes into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're kind of the main things. I think the thing for me is to try and, with buying the house and things, try and get some more passive income stuff going, some more invest in the money, because I know if I have it, I'll probably just want to book nice holidays.
So you've obviously got a lot of great stuff going on. What's next?
Just growing the business, really. Adding more services that we can offer, getting more specialists in for certain areas, and just really growing it into a bit of an empire, I hope.
Nice. What is your proudest moment?
The day I gave him my notice at work.
Nice.
100%.
After having that letter that you wrote?
Yeah. I was so adamant that I was going to do it. And that was almost like you know, when you've worked so hard towards something, the day you give that in, that was like I fucking done it. Like, that was my proudest moment. And I feel a bit emotional talking about it, but like walking out of there that day, I was like, yeah, I've done it.
Nice, well done.
And then had to go back on Monday to work my notice period.
And what were they like when you left? Were they like wanting to keep you? Were they like, yeah, good riddance?
Yeah, so when I kind of gave it in, there was a bit of a like, oh, well, we can give you more flexibility and we can look into doing this and look into doing that. But my man was made up. Like, I was out of there. It was no longer a battle for flexibility. It was, I've found a bigger passion for life. It wasn't, at the beginning it started, I wanted flexibility. But then I wanted more, and it become like, I don't want this anymore. There was nothing they could have offered me that would have made me stay. They could have offered me double money, less hours, like, my time was done. I had my new passion, and I was out there.
Are you happy with where the company's got to?
I am, but I don't think I'll ever be truly happy, because I think if you take it right back, when I was in full-time work, I'd have been happy with quitting my job. When I quitted my job, I'd been happy if I was getting more clients. Like, where I am right now, I would have dreamed of being a year ago, but now that I'm here, I want more. Like, I'm always gonna want more.
It's the hedonic treadmill, right? Have you heard of that?
No.
Where I've spoken about this a couple of times before, I think, for people that are listening at home. So there's been a whole load of research done asking a load of people how much money do they need to be paid to be happy. And there's like a scientific answer, and it's 3.3 times where they currently are. So if I'm earning 100 grand a year, and I'm asked how much I need to be getting paid to be happy, I need to be earning 330 grand a year. If I'm earning $500,000, it needs to be 1.5 million, blah, 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 all the way up. And all the way down as well. So somebody that's earning 30 grand a year, their answer's 100 grand. But when you get to that 100 grand, your answer's then 3.3 times that, 300 grand. And I mean, I see this a lot in my own life with just about everything I do. I'm working on it. I'm not getting very far, but I'm working on it. But it definitely seems like that hedonic treadmill is the thing that's happening there as well.
I do agree, but I don't think mine's money orientated. Mine's
same
not
with
about
everything else.
like
same with exercise, same with fitness.
It's about like, I'd have been happy having one person working with me now, and now next year I think, well, I'd hope to have a team of 10, and we're doing this and like growing the company.
That's exactly what I've just said, because your team is like 3 or 4 just now, and you said I want a team of 10.
Yeah.
So that's 3.3 times. That's actually like a worked example. A year from now, if you've got 10, what's your answer going to be?
Yeah.
Is it going to be I'm happy with 10, or is it going to be I want 33?
Yeah, well, probably.
It wouldn't be. You'd probably say I want 30.
Yeah.
Which is like literally case in point of the same with like if you're losing weight, like if you're 100 kilos, you'll say I want to be 80. When you get to 80, you go, well, actually, I could probably do with another. And this is me right now. I could probably do with another 6 or 7. When you get there, shit, right? I've lost a lot of muscle here. I need to get that back. So it's the same thing. It's like the treadmill of getting to where you always wanted to get to and being like, I actually want that thing that's a bit further now.
I think that's good. That keeps me motivated.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. But then it's just about how do you keep yourself happy whilst chasing as the bit I'm working on just now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Talk to me about the growth. So we've mentioned growth there. We've mentioned, future. How's the growth been to date?
It's grown beyond what I ever imagined it to be. And I think my mindset's changed on that completely. Like, I imagined it being me working for myself, and now I imagine it being a big company. It's probably doubled growth every quarter. I feel like every month I'm like, this is my best month. And I'm like, cow, I've just hit my best month. And then the next month I'm like, I've topped it. We've got another best month. That every month or every quarter it's just going up. And that's obviously amazing. But I'm like, okay, am I going to get slapped in the face with like a sad month when all of a sudden I don't beat the previous month? But
you will eventually.
Yeah, I know it will come. But like prime example, the beginning of every year, Callum and I write we pick like 2 or 3 goals that are really important to us for that year, and we write them on a bottle of champagne. And when we hit them goals, we open the bottle of champagne to celebrate. I've in the last quarter need to open both bottles of my champagne, and I've not even opened one yet, and now I've wrote more kind of thing. So it's like the goals are now speeding through that I now need to hit my goals higher, but it's grown at a rate that it is. I feel like I'm getting really emotional again. I just feel like I'm living my dream that I wanted to get to. I don't know why I'm crying.
Well done.
But no, I feel like I am proud of myself and where I've got to, but it's grown to everything I could have imagined it to be or more.
Well done.
Why am I crying? Oh, God.
Good. Well done. Right, let's flip it around a little bit. So I'm sure you faced some challenges during that time. Talk to me about some of the challenges that you faced over the last few years.
Well, I think firstly is getting it set up. I literally had no life. My whole life was revolved around working every hour under the sun, which was pretty challenging. And like my weekends were working, my evenings were working, so that was pretty tough. I think other challenges as well is kind of navigating how to set up a business. So when I started out, it was kind of like just me, and I always looked at it as just me. And I think one of the biggest challenges was getting out of that mindset and turning it into a business. So that was pretty tough. And obviously you did give me some help along the way, but you kind of let me get to the point that I was screaming before helping, so that I learned. So that was tough. I think I've learned.
You never liked it at the time. What do you think about that now?
I think it was the right thing to do, but I think you could have sometimes stepped in a bit earlier. But no, so that was tough. I think I've learnt a lot. So kind of like losing clients in the early days, I'd be thinking like, oh my God, like I should have kept my job and like this is really bad. Whereas now I don't see that as a challenge because, one, I've not lost a long client in a long time. But 2, also, I've kind of learned how to navigate things. I've learned how to do a lot of kind of managing, whereas before I didn't have to manage anyone. It was just me doing a job, really. I was basically just employed, but for my own company.
Yeah, it makes sense. Something that I've noticed about the industry is like there's no barrier to entry, right? I could wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm a social media person now, and just go and start doing it. Like, talk to me about that.
So this goes back to what I've just said where the first couple didn't work out. People can sometimes talk a good talk and talk a good interview, have a good CV and give some good examples of work they've done. But when it actually comes to doing work, it's like a completely different person's done it. So I think the tough thing is people can say that they can content create and people can say that they understand social media, but because there's no direct qualification, like to be a plumber, you need to do a plumbing qualification. If you've done that, you would know how to plumb a pipe or whatever. Like with social media, a lot of it is kind of fluid. Like it's not, there's not a, you've passed a degree in social media, you know everything there is to know, come and do it. It's people kind of do some online certifications and some learning on the jobs, but actually they might just know how to run their own social media, so they can do stuff, but they've only done influencer style stuff, or like they don't know how to run it from a corporate perspective, because social media is actually just part of the entire marketing plan that they need to think wider than just, oh, that looks nice. And it is tough because people that say that they can manage social media can't always manage social media.
And you were once that person, not that you can't manage social media, but you were once the person who went, right, I'm going to do social media now. How have you managed to get away from that? You know, a lot of people struggling at the start. How have you managed to kind of get beyond that?
So obviously doing NC 500 pods at the beginning, that was obviously your company that I had a free reign to do what I want, and use that as kind of like experiment kind of thing. So like that was a period that I was learning a lot, and I was working out what works. I was learning how to create content more. I was learning more how to structure marketing plans, and just really learning as much as I can. And then it was only kind of after that I think experience gives you the most qualification in social media. I know that sounds a bit weird, but people's experience, the more you do something, the more you learn, the better you become.
Yeah, that makes sense. Something that I always find interesting about you and what you do is that you're very different to your target demographic. How do you make that work?
So I actually think, and this is quite random, when I was younger, I used to work in a pub, and there used to be kind of middle-aged men drinking beers on a Saturday afternoon. So I've actually...
So is that what your target market is?
No, not necessarily, but my point on that is like, I've learned how to speak to different people. Yeah. I've gone from talking to a middle-aged man on a Saturday afternoon in the pub to working for a huge law firm in corporate meetings and lawyers from all over the world. So like... I know how to speak to people because I've gone from the highest, most corporate bit to the least leisure part, that I know how to speak to people, and I think that's what makes it work.
Yeah, and you do seem to get on with all your clients. Any that I've met that you're kind of working with, you do seem to get on really well with them. Yeah,
absolutely. There's not actually any clients that I don't get on with.
Going back to when you first quit your job, that must have been really scary to go from... getting paid a lot of tax-free money with no risk to it, to loads risk. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was a big risk. It was a risk, but I feel like if I quit my job and said I'm going to start a company, it would have been a big risk, a bigger risk. I got myself to the point that I was still getting the same salary, so I feel like I brought that risk down as much as I could. That although it was a risk, with it being like social media, it's kind of like a monthly subscription thing, that I closed the risk as much as I could, but it was really scary.
I do think that having monthly recurring revenue is a massive benefit. If I was to go back and start again, I would definitely set up more businesses that have recurring revenue, because then... it takes a lot more for somebody to stop paying you than it does for somebody to start paying you.
Well, it's only if something goes wrong that they're going to stop paying you. Yeah. Whereas if you're doing a good job and everything's going right, then you don't really have too much of a reason to lose a client, unless... The only flip that back, sometimes what some clients do is they'll come to me for like a 3-month social media management package, but then in that last month we'll start doing consultancy. So we give them the kickstart and then teach them how to do it. So that's more just not losing a client, but that transition is made from that plan from the beginning to kind of, we'll get you started, but we're going to teach you how to do it yourself.
Makes sense. You live in a different country to where your business is. And your clients are quite old school as well, so this maybe compounds a little bit. But yeah, how do you find it managing your business from a different country?
So I think to some clients it can come across as quite scary that I'm in a different country. But I'm back now every 3 months or so. We've just been back for 6 weeks to the UK. I'm back again in 5 weeks for another 6 weeks. I'm back again at Christmas. So a lot of stuff is done on Teams. So obviously my regular check-in calls with clients are done on Teams. The WhatsApps are done on Teams. So I don't actually see that being that I would see my clients anymore, even if I was in the UK, than every kind of 3 to 6 months that I'm home anyway. The only tough thing is in terms of gathering content. So I've got a lot of content creators that I work with in the UK that will go and get the content, and a lot of influencers and photographers and stuff. And also now that I've got a team in the UK, they can now go and visit the clients and kind of meet them. So it's kind of getting to a stage where although I'm not there, I'm probably in a few months not really going to be needed there that much. It will just be me going to meet clients to spend time with them and see what's going on.
Makes sense. Talk to me about any other challenges you faced. What have I not asked about that you're like, oh, that was quite tricky to navigate?
I think one of the kind of big challenges was not summer just gone. Well, no, not summer that's coming up, summer that went last year. Kind of had so many summer plans because it was like my first summer of freedom, and we had all these European countries that we were going to and whatever, that it was really hard to stay on top of work. I kind of got the freedom that I wanted, but then because my company had grown, that freedom was no longer there because I had no one to help me. that I'd got everything I wanted, but then didn't have the time to do that. So that was really, really tough. And I was kind of trying to balance it out that I didn't really enjoy my trips home because of they was just almost inconvenient that I had all this pressure to do all this work, and like when it's just you, if you don't do the work doesn't get done. So that was really tough. And I also think that another tough thing was kind of like getting to the point of back to being more client focused, because I got so caught up in the doing the kind of actual work, writing the captions and the smaller bits. It was really tough to grow the company when I had no time, because all my time was spent doing client work that I couldn't meet any new clients. And I think that was really tough to navigate as well, because it's like I didn't have the confidence back then to take someone on. I wasn't strong enough to say, I'm going to get someone to come and help me do the work so I can meet new clients. I was like, well, obviously I'm not going to take someone on because it's just little me and this little company. But the company was bigger than what I believed it to be at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that often happens with people that is kind of bigger than what you realise. Any more challenges that you've missed?
I don't think necessarily any major challenges. I think finding new client, well, actually it is quite a major challenge. Finding new clients is a challenge. Obviously, naturally working with you guys with Glamping, setting up the sites, it does feed through, but also kind of like finding clients that aren't through you guys. So like at the Glamping show, and I spoke at the Glamping show for 5 minutes, and that was a challenge because that was petrifying. I've never done a seminar or anything like that, so to speak on stage in front of loads of people, that was a challenge. But yeah, finding clients kind of that are already open, or people that haven't come through you guys, or people that just want some help with something that you maybe don't offer as a standard package, but they want a tailored package and things like that. There's a lot of challenges daily, and kind of fast forwarding to the point that I've employed people, the biggest challenge is finding the right people. I've struggled with that. I had a couple that didn't work out where it was kind of deliverables that weren't being delivered, and that was tough. And I think that...
What do you mean deliverables that weren't being delivered?
So, say for example, the deliverables would be like the task for that week. So I need X amount of reels, I need this done, I need that done, I need this done. And it was, oh, I've only done one or two, but here's your invoice. And it was like, well, how does that work then? And I still paid it stupidly. But like things like that were really challenging. And I think also finding the right person, like I want to do a good job. I think in this last week of, looking for the second social media manager that we've now found that's about to start, I've gone through about 30 phone calls because I don't want a social media manager. I want the right social media manager. And I think finding that person, yes, it's above the budget that I plan for, but I want to do a good job for my clients, and just getting someone that's all right isn't what I want. And that's a big challenge, finding the right one.
Makes sense. Okay, let's flip around a little bit. Tell me about a time that you cried.
When I hadn't given my notice in at work. A lot. There was a lot of tears in the early days. I think it was a balance of trying to set the company up and balance normal life. That become where I had no time for me, that it was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, that I just felt overwhelmed with working a full-time job and trying to set up. But I think more recently, I'm trying to think, I don't know if you're thinking of one, I'm trying to think of a more recent time. But I've been pretty happy lately. I don't think I've cried on work-related stuff in a long time.
Good. Right, if you could go right back to the start, when you very first set up the company, and you could either do it all again or go and do something completely different, what would you do?
I'd do it all again. I'd do it slightly differently, but I would do it all again.
That's the same answer that just about everyone says. I think there's maybe only ever been like one person that's went, no, I wouldn't do it at all. I would go and do something different.
Oh, no, I would absolutely do it all again. I think the biggest difference I would do is I would get help at the beginning. I think when I got a life coach at one point, that really helped with the growth of things. And I think I'd get more, not like a business guide, but I'd get somebody to help teach me more about how to manage a business rather than just how to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, makes sense. Where do people keep up to date with you?
Instagram. I post a lot on Instagram. Website,
Where do you want them to go? Like, is your personal one? Is it Propelling Parrot?
Head over to Propelling Parrot Instagram. That's where we share all the information about like our upcoming webinars, where to download our 3 guides and things. So yeah, find us on at Propelling Parrot.
Great. Thank you very much. It's been great. And yeah, I really appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you outside for a coffee in a minute.
Deal.